What's up, everybody? I'm Van with Hang Free, and today we're going to be giving you guys a quick overview on kind of the differences in aiders and then also how to measure to make sure you get the correct aider length for your height or your build. It's going to be kind of the pros and cons of more of our standard aiders, meaning 1/8 single, double, triples, and sewn single, double, triples, and then there's one kind of hybrid, but we'll get to that here in a second. Now, that being said, this is all kind of personal preference. I'll give you like pros and cons of each style, but it is really up to you. There's no one perfect fit. We do have an entire video on different ways to attach these aiders to your sticks. That'll be in a previous video that's already uploaded. You guys can go check that out if you're looking for different ways to actually add them onto your sticks or some alternative aider options for different style sticks. But this one's going to be, again, brief overview of kind of the differences and how to actually measure to make sure you get an aider that will work for you. So we're going to hop basically straight into it. The first two will be our 1/8 single step aider and our single step sewn aider or climbing stick aider. The kind of main differences, both of these are going to be extremely easy to use. They're going to be very packable on your sticks, as most of us do leave our aiders on our sticks. This is truly personal preference. If you would rather use a Amsteel one, which is a little bit more packable, a little bit lower profile, then you can, or if a single step sewn just to match your other sews. If you decide to go with sews for doubles or triples, you can do that as well. There really is not going to be much of a difference, if any, in terms of the way you add them, the way you use them, and the stability of them or the packability of them. They're very, very similar. It mainly and almost solely is personal preference or kind of what stick you have and how you want to add it on. But again, we have another video on that. So these are very similar. It's just personal preference. Personally, if I had to pick one, I would go with the Amsteel one. But we've had Amsteel ones for longer. That's what I got used to. Again, there's not really any difference at all. So those will be the single steps. The double steps are going to be very, very similar. You will start to notice a bit of a size difference here. However, you also will notice a bit of an ease of use difference, meaning your double steps for your 1/8 double step is going to be very packable, but it's not going to be as easy to use as a double step sewn. The double step sews are going to be a little bit more stable. However, that's not to say these aren't stable or they're impossible or very hard to use. They are very, very easy. For using an aider, make sure your toe is pointed into the tree and isn't off to the side of the tree. That's going to be where you get that kind of stability issue. But as I always say, if you call us, email us, whatever it is, we're going to tell you that they function virtually the exact same. They're both very easy to use, very stable to use. This one will be a little bit more stable, but you're going to sacrifice a little bit of that packability comparatively to the 1/8. Again, there's not much, if really any, difference in use. It's more kind of packability of them. The 1/8 will be a little bit more packable, a little bit harder to use, or a little bit harder to learn. I wouldn't say it's any harder to use. All aiders are going to take a little bit of a learning curve. It's just this one is going to be not as stable or as rock solid because we use a bit of a tougher fuel line in the sews than we do the Amsteel. We can use it in the sewn because it doesn't cut. We can't use it on the Amsteel because Amsteel will and can cut. Those are kind of the 1/8 double step and the double step sewn. Again, very similar. It's more personal preference than anything. Either of these options work for me. If I had to pick one, I would say I would put a blindfold on and pick one. It does not matter to me. They're very similar. They work very, very similar to each other, and both options are great options. It really comes down to kind of personal preference. Some customers love the sewn option. Some love the Amsteel. More of a look than anything else. But those are kind of your doubles. Now, getting into triples is where you're going to see the kind of biggest difference in terms of ease of use. Your 1/8 triple is still going to be extremely packable. And before I move on, going back, all of these weigh very, very similar in weight. You're talking about a difference in just a couple of ounces. If that, in the singles, you might have a difference in a single ounce, maybe 1.5 ounce. Doubles, maybe 2.5 ounces. Triples, you'll find that the sewn one is going to be a little bit more heavy, a little bit harder to pack on your stick, when the Amsteel is a lot lighter and a lot more packable. However, your triple is going to be a lot more stable in the sewn version than it will be the 1/8. I personally use both a little bit. However, we do kind of have a hybrid of these two, which I'll show you here in a second. But for the stability, I would say that the sewn aider is going to win. It's going to be very stable. I don't know if it's from the way it attaches to the stick or the way the steps stay open, but customers have relayed to us that these are very, very easy to use. However, they're a little bit hard to pack up on your stick, when this one is very easy to pack up on your stick, but might be a little bit more of a learning curve to get very efficient with, meaning the 1/8 one. Again, it's kind of the same as the first two. They're both very easy to use after you practice a little bit. When I say ease of use is super easy on the Sone, that doesn't mean you're going to go out of the tree, set it on the first time, and just be flying up the tree. That just means that it's going to be a little bit more stable. It might not swing as much. The steps might stay open a little bit better for you. But in terms of then having to pack this up on your stick, a lot of customers have also relayed they just take this one off, put it in a dump pouch, and they kind of add it on, as it's very easy to add on. Both options are to your stick. It's going to be mainly personal preference. Again, you're going to get a little bit more stability out of this one, but it's a little bit bigger profile versus this one, which is a lot easier to pack up, but it's going to be a little bit more of a learning curve to get good with. If you're like, I'm not sure which one to go with, do I sacrifice packability, or do I go with easier way to actually kind of climb and a more stable way to climb? That kind of brings in the Mega Aider. This is going to be made from AmSteel, however, it's sized up. So it's made from 3/16 versus 1/8. It's going to be a little bit larger than your 1/8, but it's going to be a little bit smaller than your Sone. This one's kind of a perfect hybrid in between. It's going to be very, very stable and easy to use. However, it's a little bit more packable than your Sone. So this one has become very popular. It is really kind of up to you on which one you want to go with. They all three are very good options. They all do have a learning curve, but it's, again, personal preference, what you want to do and how you want to kind of set up your system. I do use the Mega a lot when I am one sticking, as I only have one stick. I also will use the Sonator a lot for a triple when I'm one sticking. However, if I'm doing multiple sets or multiple sticks where I'm setting up 2 or 3 sticks, I will go with a 1/8 because it's a little bit more packable. It kind of, again, if you're one sticking, maybe go with a little bit larger of an aider because packability is not nearly as big of an issue. If you're using 2 sticks, you could always go with a Mega, kind of that in between. If you're going with like 3 or 4 sticks, go with that 1/8. Stays lower profile, sits on your stick a little bit better, but will have a little bit more of a learning curve. But that is a quick overview of the aiders, the aider differences. So again, it is personal preference. You guys can decide for yourself which one is going to be best for you and your setup. And we're going to cut right here. I'll swing around to the front of the table, and I'll show you how to actually measure to ensure that your aider is going to meet or be within the length that's comfortable for you to use, given your height or weight, whatever it is. So we'll get up there and explain that. Alrighty, so now that I'm in front of the table, we're going to show you how to actually measure to make sure you're getting an aider that's within that kind of your sizing, where it's going to be comfortable to use. If you're an older gentleman who might have a little bit of mobility issues, or if a lot of you guys are veterans who have been in a accident where you do have a little bit more mobility issues, then you might want to go a couple inches shorter than how I'm going to show you how to measure right now. But if you're in good condition or you just don't have any mobility issues, this is a great way to find a comfortable aider length for you to use. So all you're going to need is a seat where you're at a roughly a 90-degree angle when you're sitting down, and a ruler or a tape measure, anything that you can actually measure with. The way you're actually going to want to measure is from the floor to right in the front of your knee. So I'm not going to the top of my knee. I'm just going right out front, right about here. Now, this aider for me says 21 inches. I am 6'5", and I think the majority of that height comes from that good old tibia bone. I personally still use a 16-inch aider. A lot of the aiders now that we carry are going to be kind of preset to 16 inches. That's a kind of a mid aider length that we found that works best for really everyone. If you're an older gentleman, a young guy, a guy that's 5'8", 5'9", 6 foot, that's just kind of that median that is kind of perfect for everyone. However, you do have to account for just about every aider we have is going to droop or sag down about 2 inches when you're actually using it. So if you order a 16, it might function more like an 18 step. However, again, it's just from the ground to the front of your knee. I could go anywhere from 21 to 23. However, my mobility is going to be a bit more limited when I'm in heavier gear or thicker clothing as well. That's why for a long time I did use an 18 aider, 18-inch like step-to-step aider. However, now I just use a 16. They're pre-made, so I'm a bit lazy when it comes to making my own gear. I'll just throw a 16-inch 8er on there, and it works just fine for me. It works just fine for another guy we got here who's shorter than I am. And I mean, in all reality, a 16-inch 8er is kind of that perfect middle ground. However, if you want to go 18 and really stretch it out, or if you want to go 14, that's more than fine as well. It's, again, going to be kind of where that measurement falls for you. It's just kind of personal preference and what mobility you have. But that's going to kind of wrap things up. I'm Van with Hang Free. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any comments, questions, drop them down in that comment box below. We'll get back to you, or give us a call or send us an email with the contact button on the website. Again, I'm Van. Thanks for watching, and peace.